I've listened to Cowboy Carter by Beyonce for a month.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to the Spin It Grammy Special. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spin It, the record-ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. We have once again reached that magical week of the year that is our Grammy special.
Shout out to all the Grammys out there.
That's right.
I love all you grandmas.
Yeah, we do.
It's your week.
It is your week. What's remarkable about that joke is it never gets funny year after year.
Yeah.
But maybe one of these years it will, and we don't want to miss that opportunity. Yeah. So we're recording this episode about the Album of the Year winner, which was Cowboy Carter by Beyonce.
Spoilers! Spoilers!
Well, they already saw it in the episode title anyway.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it's known. But we're recording this the day after the Grammys. The Grammys were last night on Sunday. Here we are on Monday. This episode comes out on Friday. It's been a whirlwind of a time. How did you feel about the 67th Grammy Awards?
Dude, I felt great.
Honestly.
I felt great.
So, last year, we predicted all the winners for every one of the 94 categories.
Yep. Did the same thing this year.
Yeah, we did. But last year, we did a special piece of supplementary content where we went through and talked about all our picks and our predictions, and it was a very long piece of supplemental content, and the timing just wasn't there this year. So we couldn't release the content and talk about all our predictions, but we did still make all our picks and compete for the Grammys. And this year went way different than last year did.
Yeah, it did.
So last year, the 66th Grammys and our, 2024 predictions, we did not do so hot. I think we were the first to admit we did not do so hot.
I mean, we did better than I thought we were going to do, to be honest.
That's true. Of the 94 categories, last year, I got 23 of them right, and you only got 20.
Yeah.
But what was wild about last year was that we matched on 35 picks. Like, we chose the same thing 35 times. A third of the time.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
What are the odds?
They're not very high. So this year came around and we made our predictions. And as the Grammys were unveiled throughout the night, we unveiled them and revealed them and we kept score to see who was winning. This year, I got way more right. I correctly predicted 27 of the 94 Grammys.
It's pretty good.
So that was pretty exciting. I had a 28.7% success rate on picking Grammys.
That's over a quarter of them correct.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Unfortunately, it was not good enough.
The people's champion, just knowing how the people were going to vote.
Yeah, apparently.
I don't know why you're so surprised. I got 37 of them correct.
Which is wild.
Which is a 39.36% success rate.
You picked almost 40% of the Grammys correctly.
Which is awesome.
It is. And what's even more unbelievable about that is that we picked 45 of the same options.
Yeah.
Like 48% of our picks matched each other. It's just that way more of your picks were winners than mine.
Yeah, the stuff we didn't match on, I was right and you were not. We were both wrong about the same stuff.
But in my defense, I do think there were a lot fewer close contests this year, but also the ones that were close contests, it felt like it was down to like 2 or 3 or 4, maybe, nominees, instead of just being a category of what the heck.
That's in your defense of not doing as well?
Yeah, in my defense, I think I just picked the second runner-up in most cases. Like, the one I picked could have won in almost all the ones that I whiffed.
I see.
At least where I didn't just guess. Because we still took some swings and misses on, like, the late fields.
I was guessing all over the place.
Yeah, sometimes it shows.
I was guessing left, right, and center. Sometimes it was just off of the song choice or the artist. Sometimes it was because of a funny pun. I almost had a perfect field.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm so disappointed.
You came close, but you missed.
So, yeah, the Grammys, right? They break up all their different categories into fields.
Yeah.
And in the rock, metal, and alternative music field, I correctly predicted 5 out of the 6 categories.
That's pretty impressive.
The only one I didn't get was Best Rock Album, which is arguably one of the probably the biggest one in the category. But the one I missed. It ended up going to the Rolling Stones, and I went with Dark Matter
Yeah.
by Pearl Jam. It's a shame.
An album that you said you've listened to?
Yeah.
Wild. That's pretty rare.
Yeah, I've listened to that one.
What do you think about the rest of the Grammys, though? Before we dive into the album of the year specifically and talk about that competition,
Sure.
biggest winners and losers?
Ooh, biggest...
I hate to say losers, though, because the Grammy nomination is still a win. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it's
It's not a win-win.
It's your number one loser, right?
It's still an honor. Yeah.
Second place is just your first loser. I think big winners, Kendrick Lamar.
Yes, he swept 5 for 5 with Not Like Us.
Yeah, crazy. Obviously, Beyonce.
Of course. Beyonce won a ton.
The Beatles winning one, that was wild.
I am so thrilled to be alive during a year where the Beatles and the Rolling Stones both won Grammys. That's wild to think about.
Some big losers. Nothing for Taylor this year. I think she had 6 nominations, went home with nothing.
She did not win a Grammy last night. Yep, she had 6 nominations. Most of them were for Fortnite.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did not win.
My girl Miley Cyrus got a win.
That's right. Yeah, she partnered up with Beyonce. We'll talk about her plenty in this episode.
Yep. We had a best rap.
Rhapsody? Yeah, a Rhapsody won.
Yeah, a Rhapsody won. There was 4 Rhapsodies nominated. 3 songs, 1 artist. And the artist, Rhapsody, won Best Melodic Rap Performance.
Impressive. I also was surprised how little Billie Eilish won. I kind of thought she would take home more.
Yeah, I had her nominated for some stuff too that she didn't win. I was like, wow. Of course, Sabrina Carpenter did well. Charlie XCX did well.
Yeah, no surprises there, actually.
Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars getting Best Pop Duo. That was one I correctly predicted, but didn't think was going to actually win. So that was an excitement.
That felt like a sleeper pick. Yeah, a little bit. But I was happy with Chappell Roan as Best New Artist. I figured that she would also win Best Pop Vocal Album instead of Sabrina Carpenter, but not really surprised that Short and Sweet took it.
Nah.
Definitely not surprised that Von Dutch and Brat won a couple Grammys in the dance and pop field. No, it was Brat Summer. Everybody listened to Brat. We both correctly guessed Dan Nigro would be the producer of the year.
Yep. Amy Allen got Songwriter of the Year, which I got.
Yeah, I missed that one. I was regrettably incorrect.
We both struck out on Album of the Year, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year.
We did. Well,
Kendrick and Beyonce swept those 3, and we did not have it.
No, that's true. So Kendrick, he won Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Rap Song, Best Rap Performance, Best Music Video. What I discovered is that only 33 other songs have won both Song and Record of the Year.
Oh, wow.
So it's a rare occasion for someone to take home both. But man,
How many times has it happened?
33 other times.
Out of, this is what, the 67th?
67th, yeah. So less than half.
Barely less than half?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I would have guessed it was way rarer.
I know, right? You'd think. There was a tie in one category this year, which I haven't seen before.
That was nuts.
I know it happens, but
And neither of us got it.
yeah, we had an extra chance to get it right.
Our odds of getting it, went up, and neither of us got it.
The tie was for Best Progressive R&B Album. So Glad to Know You and Why Laud tied. We both picked Childish Gambino.
Shakira won, which was an obvious choice in my opinion, but you didn't pick it.
Oh yeah, she got the big Latin pop album, and then she performed. And yeah, Shakira had a great night.
She did.
Shakira's 48 years old.
Looks almost as good as I will when I'm
Almost.
I did really well in the children's comedy, audiobooks, visual media, and music video / film category. I got 6 of 9 there. Pretty happy with that.
That's a lot.
Dave Chappelle once again wins Best Comedy Album. That's, I believe, his 5th or 6th win in that field.
It's a lot. It seems like it happens all the time.
Never bet against Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Whether or not you like his comedy or not, he wins it a lot. I was shocked you went with Deadpool and Wolverine for Best Compilation Soundtrack.
Well, I'll be honest, I haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine. I just know that I feel like Deadpool could get a really good soundtrack.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I kind of equate it to a Guardians of the Galaxy thing.
Dune 2 winning Best Soundtrack Score.
That was exciting.
That's exciting. Hans Zimmer. Woohoo.
It's rare that I walk out of a movie and go, wow, the score for this movie blew me away. But that was no small part of my thoughts after Dune 2.
You and I were both redeemed by God of War Ragnarok from last year.
What do you mean both redeemed? It didn't win.
Oh, no, it didn't. Never mind. I don't know what I was thinking.
We just both picked it again and failed again.
We love to keep picking God of War Ragnarok, and one of these times, I'll always pick it.
When I play the game, eventually, all I'll be able to think about is how bad the score is, how this one's not worth a Grammy. Nice to see John Batiste come through, though, with Best Music Film.
Yep.
Can't believe we did a whole episode on him. And retrospectively, can't believe I didn't know who he was prior to that episode.
Crazy.
Ever since then, he's been everywhere, and I love his stuff now.
Yeah.
The benefits of a podcast.
You only won 2 of the fields, I'm now seeing.
I did. And I goose-egged 2 of the other fields. Not great.
We tied in 2 other fields as well, but man, it feels good. Feels good to be a champion.
Enjoy it. It was nice last year while I had the champion's laurel. Yeah.
It felt really good. Mainly, I understand you didn't have the time to do this, but all I heard about last year when we were done was, I can't wait for next year. I'm going to do research into every single one. This was so much fun. You're going down. It's not going to be nearly as close.
It wasn't.
And then I just blew you out of the water.
In fairness, I was right about it not being nearly as close. What did you think of the actual Grammys? The performances and stuff? I thought a lot of them were really good.
Yeah.
Chappell Roan, Sabrina Carpenter. I liked Sabrina. She's a funny performer.
Mm-hmm.
She really knows how to like work the crowd.
I haven't seen her perform outside of that performance, but I've seen like the trailer for her tour and that one like Christmas special she did or whatever. And she's just, she seems like a very funny person.
Yeah, very lighthearted. Chappell Roan tore it up. She sings like nobody's business. Like, that's why I thought she'd win Best Pop Vocal Album. Look no further than the performance that she gave on top of that big pink pony at the club. Billie Eilish, Birds of a Feather. Such a good song. I almost want to say, I mean, Not Like Us is incredible. I don't know. We did a whole episode on Kendrick Lamar.
I picked Birds of a Feather for Song of the Year.
I thought Birds of the Feather would get Song of the Year. It's really well written. And she did just win Song of the Year last year with What Was I Made For, right? So,
do you think that made it harder for her to win it this year? Because people are like, oh, she just won it last year.
No, I don't think so. Because it was there. It was in the running.
Yeah, but...
And her performance was good. The Quincy Jones tribute was really nice.
That was cool.
Yeah, they had Janelle Monáe come and do Michael Jackson, and they had Stevie Wonder out there. Lainey Wilson and Jacob Collier together on a song. I don't know. I thought it was a really good tribute for Quincy Jones, and it's nice now to have that little...
Who's that guy?
No, that's it. It was a nice tribute to remember him by. He did We Are the World. Yeah, it was cool. I also really liked all the Best New Artist nominees giving their own little like mini performances, which weren't really mini, they were full-sized, but like back to back to back to back. It was like a montage of Best New Artists, and I was really impressed. Like Ray did one of the best moments of the night. Like she just held some note for way longer than I think most humans can conceive of.
I could have held it longer.
I really, truly, really, truly cannot even entertain that as a joke. It was so impressive. It was cool. Doechii did a good performance. I've not listened to her yet. She won Best Rap Album, and, I mean, kick butt with her performance. I might have to go listen to Alliigator Bites Never Heal. But yeah, what did you think about Album of the Year? Bit of a tight contest this year. We both picked incorrectly.
I'll be honest, I might have picked it off the odds if I had known what it was.
What do you mean? You might have picked Cowboy Carter if you had known what it was?
Well, I saw it was nominated for in the country category, so I was like, oh, this is like Beyonce does country.
Well,
I have since discovered it is more of a multi-genre album.
Yes.
Which really honestly boosts its ability to win because everybody who's a part of the Grammy voting pool gets to vote in the general category, right?
Yeah.
But then after that, you only get so many votes to spread out amongst whatever categories you see fit. And so most people go to the category that they know best, right? And put their votes there.
Yeah.
So having an album that can cross into all the genres, I think increases your odds of getting votes from people from the different genres, right?
Right. Well, this year, Beyonce was nominated in country, in Americana, in pop.
Yeah.
Yeah. She kind of was everywhere.
Yeah.
And in melodic rap.
Yep. Which I didn't put together during my picks. I just saw Best Country Album and was like, oh, it's a country album. Which I feel like don't usually do too well.
No, that would not be an inaccurate assessment.
When it comes to Album of the Year wins. So that's because at first I saw Beyonce, right? I was like, oh, Beyonce, there's a good chance Beyonce is going to win. But then I was like, oh, but it's a country album.
Oh, but Beyonce's never won Album of the Year.
She's not really known for country. I took myself away from it, ended up going with Hit Me Hard and Soft, which I do think would have been a good winner.
I agree. That was the one that I also picked as potentially a winner.
If I was playing the odds, though, as I did with a lot of those picks, just what I felt had the best shot at winning, I might have given Beyonce more consideration had I realized it was multi-genre.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just that Billie Eilish does not miss Grammys. I mean, she had a killer year in one of her first years with Bad Guy and When We Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go?
She did this year.
She did have not the best year this year of Grammy wins. But Beyonce is the opposite case, where she's never won Album of the Year. And she's put out albums, I mean, Lemonade did not win Album of the Year. I don't know. I just assumed that the Grammy voters would do what the Grammy voters have done and choose an album that I didn't think would have been the winner. So I also picked Hit Me Hard and Soft. But I was really, I don't know, I could have seen it going to Chapel Roan just for the breakout star power. Could have seen it going to Short and Sweet for like Espresso being the song of the summer and the tour that she went on being pretty big. And actually, some of the Album of the Year nominees really surprised me. I did not expect an instrumental flute album out of Andre 3000. New Blue Sun caught me so far off guard, but I really think Jesse Volume 4 by Jacob Collier surprised me the most. I hadn't really heard of him. I thought Jesse Volume 4 was a really strong nominee. I didn't think it stood a chance with voters against Cowboy Carter maybe, but definitely I was very impressed with that. He was my John Batiste of the year.
Yeah, I am interested in hearing both of those albums eventually. I have a feeling they'll both make their way to this podcast.
I wouldn't bet on New Blue Sun, but I really like Jesse Volume 4. That was a discovery for me in the year of discovery.
Nice. Oh, one more thought about the Grammys. How do we feel about the host?
Oh, Trevor Noah. He's still doing a great job. He was a little less chill this year. I felt like he was trying to get through a lot. Like the program was packed. They had a lot more to talk about with Los Angeles fire relief, and like it seemed like he had a lot more talking points to hit.
Yeah, and that's another thing I think we should talk about. Now that you just said it, I always love it when Trevor Noah hosts. I think he did a great job.
He's pretty good off the cuff.
But yeah, having the album of the year announced by the Los Angeles Fire Department, that was a cool touch.
It was a very nice touch. I think it was really nice, and I was glad that they were able to use the platform of the Grammys in such an effective way to like raise money and support, because that was awful. That was a really unthinkable circumstance.
How do we feel about the house that Will Smith's kid wore?
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about red carpet things. Jaden Smith wore a house. Kanye's wife showed up naked. Like,
she wasn't naked, please.
No, okay, I don't think that's an argument that would hold up in court.
There was technically clothing.
If you have to say technically, though, I don't know.
Also, I don't know what people expected out of her. She shows up naked like everywhere. I feel
that's
like
what
anything I've ever seen.
I know
about Kanye's wife is that she's just always naked everywhere.
Well, what are you gonna do?
Anyway,
I
think that's all my thoughts
for now.
No, I think that's it. I'm done.
But we should probably get into the actual album. It is probably about that time because we do have a hefty one to cover here.
Hefty.
It is 27 full tracks, and there's so much to say that we can't possibly say. But luckily, we can kind of jumpstart the conversation because we already did an episode on Beyonce. There was a 2 in 8 chance that we'd repeat, right? 1/4 of the odds were that we'd have a repeat artist, and this is our lot. I am also, just not to beat the horse to death, I'm kind of relieved that the Tortured Poets Department didn't win. Don't get me wrong, it's a good album, but we already did 2 Taylor Swift albums so close together. I don't know what we would have said in a 3rd Taylor Swift episode. I can handle 2 Beyoncés that are 90 episodes apart, but another Taylor Swift just a year later would be a lot.
Yeah, you know what I always say? Keep your Beyoncés 90 apart.
Sage wisdom, good advice. Yeah, we did first talk about Beyonce back in episode 96. We covered Renaissance, Act 1 of this trilogy we're in the middle of. We talked about it after 2 years ago's Grammys, when she was nominated for Album of the Year and was projected to win kind of in a landslide. I think nobody talked about anything except Beyonce winning the Album of the Year, finally, at long last. And then, like, she didn't get it. She won more Grammys than anyone ever that year, but, like, couldn't get Album of the Year. Lost to Harry's House by Harry Styles. Lots of people were pretty surprised by that. I forget which way you leaned in that head-to-head matchup, whether you liked Harry's House or Renaissance better.
There's no way to tell.
No, the records are lost to time.
Lost to the shredder.
Yeah, really. But this year, of course, Beyonce's back. Got her 99th Grammy nominations this year and 35 Grammy wins over the course of her career. That's a ton. 99 Grammy nominations. She's about to hit triple digits.
That's a lot.
So if you want Beyonce's backstory and history, I implore you, check out the Renaissance episode. The first part of that is full of all the Destiny's Child and everything you could ever want. From if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it, all the way up to Renaissance. But, since then, what she's done is pretty much this album, Cowboy Carter, and her massively successful Renaissance World Tour, which was actually briefly the highest grossing tour by a female artist ever. And, of course, there was the Renaissance film that documented the tour. It grossed $44 million at the box office. But mostly we're here to talk about Cowboy Carter, the album, which is such an interesting musical body of work. It is Act 2 of her trilogy, right, which began with the disco-centric Renaissance. And pretty much it came about through like an interesting personal way. Back on Lemonade, right, Beyonce released a song called Daddy Lessons, and it's a very country song. I listened to Daddy Lessons ages ago when I listened to Lemonade, and I didn't even realize that all this fallout had happened afterwards. I just knew that it sounded like a country song. Well, she performed at the CMAs. Like, the CMAs invited her to perform with then the Dixie Chicks, now the Chicks. It was 2016. She played, and then there was so much backlash from her appearance at the CMAs online. Like, they didn't like her outfit, they didn't like the song, they didn't think she was right for the genre. I can't believe the level of fallout she got from that. It, definitely transcended the performance or the music, and it was way more about demographics and politics that led to a lot of backlash. And so Beyonce was like, wow, okay, I'm very clearly not welcome in this country music space by the people that are already in it. What's the deal? And so then she does a lot of research, right? She starts digging back into history, learns about black cowboys, right? Historically, farmhands in the old Wild West were people of color, right? Former slaves, as many as 25% of farmhands were black. And Beyonce said the word cowboy itself was used in a derogatory way to describe the former slaves as boys, who were the most skilled and had the hardest jobs of handling the horses and cattle. She said, in destroying the negative connotation associated, right, with the word cowboy, what remains is the strength and resiliency of these men who were the true definition of Western fortitude. So she does all this research and starts working on Cowboy Carter, starts writing for it as early as 2019, and puts in 5 years of work. It was actually supposed to be released before Renaissance. Cowboy Carter was almost Act 1, but with COVID and the way that producing albums worked, it just got shuffled around in the craziness, and Cowboy Carter became Act 2 instead. Genre? Question mark? I think you're absolutely correct about this album. It's classified as a country album. There is no box to put Cowboy Carter in. At best, this is a country-inspired album. But Beyonce herself says, this isn't a country album, it's a Beyonce album. She said, the criticisms I faced when I first entered this genre forced me to propel past the limitations that were put on me. Act 2 is a result of me challenging myself and taking time to bend and blend genres together to create this body of work. I hope this music is an experience, creating another journey where you can close your eyes, start from the beginning, and never stop. So yeah, I don't know. What genre do you think? I guess you already kind of said.
Don't ask me.
I know. Well, I know. It's just interesting to talk about. That's like the whole conversation that this album wants to force is what's genre. I think it's almost a genuine disservice to Cowboy Carter to call it a country record, because it's not. Like, that feels reductive and inaccurate, because Ya Ya is not a country song, Spaghettii's not a country song, like Buckin is not a country song. Like, there's so much of this stuff is not country music, but it's all so country influenced and inspired, and it just really did a lot to greatly, rapidly expand the conversation on what genre is and can be. And because it was classified mostly as a country album, it did expand the reach of country, and it brought the genre to new audiences, right? All the features, all the marketing, all the promo, covers of songs like Jolene, that brought a lot of new listeners to country for the first time. 36 million people streamed country music for the first time on Spotify after Cowboy Carter came out. A survey in Britain found that 60% of its respondents started listening to country after Beyonce did it first. Country also saw a 60% jump in listenership in Sweden, which is the biggest increase for any genre ever in Sweden. Like, worldwide, suddenly, tons of eyes are on the genre. So whether you think it's a country music album or not, and I would argue that it's not a country album, but it's not trying to be a country album, and that's just the closest best fit of a genre label that we can stick on what it is, it's pretty undeniable that it had a big impact. Beyonce recorded 100 songs for Cowboy Carter, triple digits, 100 songs, and pared it down, roughly to like a dozen and a half really substantive songs with a couple musical interludes and narratives and like set dressing almost thrown in on Cowboy Carter. And so we end up with this hour and 20-minute, 27-track concept album. Parts of it are loosely structured like a radio broadcast from Texas. We get like DJs like Willie Nelson and Dolly Parton and Linda Martell. They take over like mini radio shows or like give little voice spoken interludes. It's very interesting. Beyonce said the joy of creating music is that there are no rules. The more I see the world evolving, the more I felt a deeper connection to purity. With artificial intelligence and digital filters and programming, I wanted to go back to real instruments, and I used very old ones. I didn't want some layers of instruments like strings, especially guitars and organs, perfectly in tune. I kept some songs raw, and I leaned into folk. All the sounds were so organic and human. Everyday things like the wind, snaps, even the sound of birds and chickens, the sounds of nature. So she really took a different approach to this album. I mean, you remember Renaissance, how produced and synthetic and over the top and loud.
Yeah.
And then this is like a full pivot in a different direction. Out-of-tune guitars and chicken sounds, and there's definitely a different feel to Cowboy Carter than anything I think I've heard from Beyonce in the past, which is, again, a fairly limited scope, but still. She announced Cowboy Carter during the Super Bowl. She dropped 16 Carriages and Texas Hold'em as the lead singles, like simultaneously, shortly thereafter. The whole album came out on March 29th, 2024. It is almost to its first birthday. Critically, Cowboy Carter has been pretty darn well loved. His Metacritic score is a 91 out of 100. It's got 5 stars from Rolling Stone, NME, The Guardian, and more. Pitchfork, notoriously kind of tough on albums. Pitchfork gave it an 8.4 out of 10, but it seems like a lot of critics really appreciated the album as like a genre study and a study about the history and evolution and like reclamation of country music. And it does jump through a ton of genres a ton of times. It's a very fluid, evolving, amorphous album. It's just such a far cry, again, from Renaissance, where not only was it big and produced, but all the tracks really flowed together into a dance club pop record with like no breaks, no room to breathe. And this album has like several interludes just built in and slower moments and lighter moments that I think Renaissance was lacking a lot. Critics said it was like a Western film. They related it to a historical epic that gave you, quote, the sense that history is not only being told, but also made. And former Album of the Year winner Jon Batiste, from episode 39, who also did some work on this album, said that it was a work of such unimaginable impact and artistic firepower by a once-in-a-generation artist. And beyond critics, fans also loved Cowboy Carter. No surprise that it was the album of the year when you hear some of these stats. It had one of the biggest streaming days of 2024 on Spotify. It was the biggest debut for a country album that year, and also the biggest debut ever for a black woman. On day one, Cowboy Carter picked up 76 million global streams. And that is Album of the Year caliber. It also debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, sold 407,000 album equivalent units in its first week, making Beyonce the second artist ever to have their first 8 albums debut on top of the chart. She's also the first black woman with a number 1 country album. It stayed at number 1 for 2 weeks, making it the first time Beyonce's held on to number 1 since 2013, actually, which is surprising to me. And as for the singles, right, those are all album stats, but as for the singles on Cowboy Carter, all 23 songs that could have been on the Billboard Hot 100 broke into the Hot 100. So if you're counting, that's 106 lifetime Hot 100 tracks for Beyonce, which is the third most for any female artist. And she also, was fairly welcomed into the country music genre with open arms. Despite what happened last time, and despite what a lot of fans of country music think, it does seem like artists and fellow music makers and industry people have been a little more receptive to her this time around. She got a special shout out from June Carter Cash's daughter, Carlene Carter. She said, in my book, she's one of us Carter women, and we've always pushed the boundaries by trying whatever music we felt in our hearts and taking spirit-driven risks. I'm here to let Beyonce and all those naysayers know that I admire and love her and all that she does. Which is fantastic. Like, the Carter family is the founding family of country music. And of course, her last name, she's Beyonce Carter. So it all makes sense. Beyonce has won a ton of awards. We'll just leave it at that. Like, you'll have to go listen to the last episode to find out all the awards, and even then I couldn't include them all. She's earned like more than 1,300 major nominations, hundreds and hundreds of wins, 700 something wins. But this year she had 11 Grammy nominations, including Best Americana Performance, Best Country Song, Best Country Solo Performance, Best Melodic Rap Performance, Best Pop Duo or Group Performance, Best Pop Solo Performance, Song of the Year, and Record of the Year. That's an incredible lineup of nominations. Again, total is 99, most ever. And then she's got her 3 wins. She took home Album of the Year, Best Country Album, and Best Country Duo or Group Performance. And she actually just announced the Cowboy Carter tour, like literally the day before the Grammys. So when you hear this episode, it was the week ago that she announced it, which is exciting.
About a week ago.
I missed the Renaissance World Tour. I don't know if it was even close to me, actually. Maybe I should go to the Cowboy Carter World Tour. Time will tell. Anyway, that's what I've got about Cowboy Carter to start with. That's your starter on Cowboy Carter. Now it's time for some Factor Spin from the Mixtaper, where he presents 4 more facts.
Time for the main course.
Ooh, well, the pre-main course. I don't really know how this counts in the grand scheme of that metaphor.
Well, the Mixtaper would consider it the main course.
Well, I'm sure he would. So we are going to get 4 more facts about Beyonce.
Yeah.
Last time he was here, maybe I should talk about this with him.
Yeah, because I don't care.
Oh, good to know.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaper.
Oh, hello, Mixtaper. Happy Grammy Week. I hope you're doing well.
Happy Grammy Week.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. Now, in past Grammy episodes, you've themed some of your fact and spins like awards, like Harry Styles had to win awards.
Oh, well, of course.
Is that a thing we're doing again? I don't think you did it for...
Absolutely. I'm pretty certain I did it last time. I thought that was my thing.
Well, you didn't do it for John Batiste. You definitely did it for...
I think I've done the last 2.
You did. I think you did it for Taylor Swift also, the second time. So I'm expecting nothing less out of this Beyonce sequel episode. Last time, we talked about a lot. We talked about Beyonce getting the word bootylicious added to the dictionary.
Yep.
Which wasn't true. We talked about how there's an insect named after her, which was true.
Yeah.
We talked about a time that she threw very expensive earrings into the crowd at a concert, kind of just on a whim, and that was also true. And then we saw the return of the fact about someone losing their seat on a plane to Beyonce's bedazzled Renaissance hat, which was not true. So that fact is still floating around there. I suspect that one can't come back up again.
Could you imagine?
Oh, that would be pretty wild. So I think that one's off the table. But that was last time. I'm excited to see what awards Beyonce could win, and we can add to her ridiculous pile of trophies.
Yes.
We've kind of made, you know what I'm realizing? Kind of made a Jay-Z sandwich.
Yeah?
Yeah, we did Beyonce, then Jay-Z, then Beyonce again.
Oh, yeah. We kind of did. The first Beyonce award that she could possibly win is the Bee-yonce Award.
Right. So I have to figure out what this is and why Beyonce could win it and whether it's true.
Yeah.
That's the game, because it's a little different than normal Factor Spin. So you say Beyonce could win the Bee-yonce Award. What kind of bee are you emphasizing? Is it bee like a bumblebee?
I don't know the particular species of bee, but...
Well, just, yeah.
Yes.
The insect is what I'm saying. It's B-E-E, like an insect Beyonce Award that she could win.
Correct.
Cool. Well, why could she win that? Does she enjoy honey? I mean, she uses the beehive as like the nickname for her fan club. Seems like she's leaning into the bee thing.
She sure is. She has the bee club and all that.
The bee club.
Whatever. She also owns her own beehives.
She owns an apiary?
She sure does.
Beyonce owns an apiary, a bunch of beehives.
That's what I'm telling you.
So... when you say owns, does she actively care for it? Like in her yard somewhere? Does she just like slap her name on it and have people take care of it for her?
Yeah, they're on her property.
And she goes out in a beekeeper suit and takes care of the bees?
I don't know. I assume she has people for that, to be 100% honest with you. But I'm sure she's visited them at least once. They're actually on the roof of her house.
Okay, the roof. I'm sure she's visited the roof of her house at least once. Don't we all? So what's the purpose of this apiary? The roof of your house doesn't sound like a good place to go care for it.
Well, when you have a house like Beyonce, I'm sure the roof is perfectly usable.
Yeah, that's true. Is it to like help gardens or flowers? Is it to like just be a symbol of I'm Beyonce? Is it an aesthetic thing?
Yeah, well, she wanted to have her own hemp and honey farm.
Hemp and honey.
That she uses the honey and stuff for medicinal purposes.
So she has medicinal bees on the roof of her house?
Yeah, to help her children's allergies, actually. Because, people who are like allergic to a lot of outdoorsy things, honey can be used medicinally because of all the pollination that goes into it.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's actually like a good thing. Like Like, there are people who go specifically travel to get honey from specific places that, you know, the bees pollinated very specific types of flowers because it helps them with their specific set of allergies.
Yeah. Well, but that would mean if she's using the honey like that, that would mean the honey's full of pollen from the types of flowers that her kids are allergic to. And if they're making that at her house, that means she has to live really close to the kind of flowers that her kids are allergic to, right?
I mean, nature in general is something you just live near usually.
Well, yeah, sure, right.
Pretty hard to pick and choose your nature.
Reasonable. Is there anything else I need to know about this? How many bees is this?
Time to play everybody's new favorite game show. Guess that bee amount.
I don't like that. If you're not kidding, I'll take a guess, but I'm going to assume you're kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm not kidding.
2,000.
Oh, more.
Well, I thought you were about to say, ooh, way less. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know. So I'm glad I was at least under it. 6,000.
More.
8,000.
More.
This is why I guess really high numbers. The last time in the Matchbox 20 episodes, you're like, that's way too high. I was like, well, I don't like to keep going up and up and up. 40,000.
More.
No way. 100,000.
Less.
70,000.
More.
90,000.
Less.
80,000.
80,000 bees.
Beyonce has 80,000 bees on her roof.
Make hundreds of jars of honey a year.
What does she do with it? Does she sell it?
I don't know.
I don't know. Her kids eat 100 jars of honey. That's why all these songs are called Sweet and Honey. And yeah, definitely makes sense. No, I don't believe this. I think this is an award that Beyonce cannot win. Those 80,000 bees are somewhere else. They're not on Beyonce's roof.
And the award goes to Beyonce.
No way.
Yes way. This is a true fact.
Beyonce has 80,000 bees on her roof that make hundreds of jars of allergy honey.
I mean, all honey is allergy honey, but yes.
That's wild. I am blown away by that. Wow. Not off to a great start.
I think it's an awesome start.
I can't believe that didn't come up in the first episode. Unreal.
Pretty crazy stuff. I had a feeling I could get you that one past you too, just because, again, with the insect fact last time and her thing with like her community, I was like, he's going to be primed to not believe this. And then when I saw the number was 80,000, I'm like, there's no way he believes Beyonce has 80,000 bees on her roof.
No, I would not have done that. It's just a way safer bet to assume you're lying in that situation.
Yeah.
What other awards could Beyonce win?
Beyonce could win the Disney Princess Award.
The Disney Princess Award. Love it. What Disney Princess Award could she win? Is she a Disney princess?
No.
No? Well, that can't be right. I mean, in a certain sense, she's a Disney queen.
Not per the official rules of Disney princesses.
Yeah.
If you're referring to Nala.
I'm referring to Nala.
From The Lion King.
And Mufasa now.
Yeah, it is not... Nala is not considered a Disney princess.
Well, no, because again, she's a Disney queen.
And also she's an animal.
Yeah, that's true. But not in the live action one. She's an animated lion in the live action one. Just a computer generation of one.
But she was almost a Disney princess.
She was almost a Disney princess. Ooh, I don't like the almost facts. It feels like everyone that got almost cast in Titanic.
Yeah.
What Disney princess was Beyonce almost?
Tiana. From Disney's The Princess and the Frog.
Interesting. Kind of expected you to say that because of her Creole heritage and Louisiana background.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense.
Sure.
What happens, like, does Disney say, we got to get Beyonce for this role?
Yeah, Beyonce was their top choice.
Okay. And what happened here? Why did this not happen?
She said no.
She said no. Interesting. Why did she say no, though, is mostly what I'm...
She did not want to audition.
Really? Why not? I feel like she'd have no problem with an audition. And practically she didn't even have to. They wanted her for the role.
She assumed the role would be offered to her outright when talks began. But then they asked her to come in for the audition.
Oh, she didn't want to audition like she should just have it. Not that she didn't want to audition like, I don't know if I can sing a song.
Yeah.
I actually really liked Princess and the Frog, but I only watched it one time. Wow, I don't know. That feels a little bit like a diva kind of thing. I can see it. I'm gonna say Spin.
Going with Spin.
Yeah, I don't think Beyonce was almost Tiana in The Princess and the Frog. Because, like, what, did they just not make her audition for Nala in The Lion King? I don't know. I think Beyonce loses out on the Disney Princess Award. And honestly, she loses out on the Disney Princess Award anyway because she wasn't a Disney princess and said no, if this is fact. So I don't really know the technicalities here.
The award goes to Beyonce!
Really?
This is another true fact.
She outright turned down the role because she did not want to be considered and just wanted it.
Yeah, she lost out because of her refusal to audition.
She said, I'm going back to the 80,000 bees on my house. I'm leaving.
You can read more about it in Jen Rudin's 2013 memoir, Confessions of a Casting Director.
Oh, that's cool. What a fumble, I guess, as a casting director, but not really.
Well,
Like, I totally understand wanting to make people audition.
the role eventually went to, and I'm so sorry if I pronounce this wrong, Anika Noni Rose.
Yeah, absolutely great casting anyway. Tiana's a phenomenal Disney princess.
Yeah, and she did go on to be Nala in the live-action Lion King, which had a way bigger audience pull than Princess and the Frog. I think it all worked out for everybody involved.
I don't understand why The Lion King had such a big audience pull. The original one I get. The CGI remake, I don't.
Yeah, and I really don't get Mufasa.
Well, that's the reason they made the live-action remake, is so that they could make Mufasa.
So far, you have tried to snub Beyonce twice from an award she has won.
Who am I, the Recording Academy?
Let's see if your streak continues. As our next category,
Oh, for what is she nominated now?
the 4 Award.
The 4 Award?
Yeah.
Is it named after, like, her album?
No.
Okay. What's it named after? 4. We're still talking Four, right? The number 4?
Sure are.
What's she got 4 of? It's funny that this is fact number 3.
Yeah.
You think they'd make the 4 award number 4, but I don't know.
4 is her favorite number.
4 is her favorite number. What 4?
The number 4 has just been very significant in her life.
I see. Yeah, like 4th time's the charm for album of the year, I guess.
Dang.
I know. Well, she won it. That's not a dig. She won. And I don't think Renaissance, I don't know. We don't need to get into it. What things in her life have lined up with the number 4?
Well, her birthday is September 4th.
Yeah, that's true.
Her mother's birthday is January 4th. Her husband, Jay-Z's birthday, is December 4th. And she married Jay-Z on April 4th.
Well, that one you had a choice.
So I think she's trying to collect all the 4s.
Oh, like, yeah, little collectibles. So she's got 4 of the 4s.
Exactly.
She's got a third of the 4s. Only 8 left.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this one's a fact. I'll give Beyonce the 4 award as fact number 3. I think that makes sense.
You'll give it to her? She didn't earn it?
Oh, well, I don't know how the 4 award works. But you can earn something and it still has to be given.
So gracious of you to give Beyonce the award.
I don't want to snub her again, but there's a lot of numbers that could be a favorite number. But she did name a whole album after 4, right? So then Jay-Z did 444. 4 just is a number that comes up a lot around the Carters. So I suppose I'll say it's a fact.
The award goes to Beyonce.
Oh, thank goodness. I wasn't sure about that one. When I said the thing about Jay-Z and 444, I was like, I bet he knows this about Jay-Z. I bet this is about someone else.
Yeah, favorite number 4.
That's cool.
And our final award of the evening.
Album of the year goes to
The Broken Toe Award.
the Broken Toe Award. Did she break her toe?
Twice.
Oh, I was worried it was going to be someone else's toe that she broke. She broke her own toes twice.
Yeah.
Her same toe 2 times?
I don't know which toe.
Did she do the same thing to break the toe?
No.
Dangerous territory here.
I also didn't say that she broke a toe twice doesn't mean she was at fault for breaking a toe twice.
Her toe was broken twice.
Yeah.
What happened the first time?
She broke it when it was stepped on by her bodyguard.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't sound like it was her fault very much. It sounds like he did the opposite of guard her body.
Dang. He was guarding the rest of her body at the expense of her toe.
Yes. Well, yeah, was it an incident? Was there a circumstance that he stepped too close to her, or did it just happen?
Yeah, he was trying to protect her from a crowd of fans.
She does have a lot of those. Were they doing anything particularly aggressive, or was it just like close quarters?
Just close quarters. I guess they were too close, and he was trying to get between them, and accidentally stepped on her foot.
Yikes. And so,
Broke her toe.
yeah, does he apologize? Does she yelp?
Probably lost his job.
He might not have lost his job. I don't know. She probably fired him. I don't know.
I don't know. If I hired somebody to protect me and then they broke my toe, don't know if I'd hire them again.
Well, it's not a matter of hiring again. I'm sure it's just she'd have to fire him.
Maybe. Depends on if she works with a security company that handles their own employees or if she has personal security.
She's Beyonce.
It depends on if she farms it out or if she handles it herself.
I'm pretty sure she handles it herself. So that's one broken toe. Ouch.
Yeah.
I've been trod upon. What happens to the other toe? Or the same toe under different circumstances? We don't know.
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks happens to the toe.
Yeah.
Well, he's a nice guy.
Yeah. Beyonce thinks so.
You just grab it in his hands and snap it. What a freak. How does Tom Hanks break her toe?
She was approaching him with her kids to introduce her kids to Tom Hanks.
Of course. I'm sure they probably cared.
I can't tell if that was sarcasm or not.
No sarcasm. It depends on how old her kids were.
Oh, okay.
Her kids are still pretty young. Blue Ivy's getting older, I guess. I don't know. At what age would you have cared about meeting Tom Hanks?
I don't know, 6 or 7.
I guess it depends on how many Tom Hanks movies you've seen. I mostly knew him by voice, so it would have been strange.
You would have been like, you sound a lot like Woody.
That's wild. Wow, Mom, how'd you find this guy? That sounds like the doll. Anyway, carry on. Going with her kids to meet Tom Hanks.
Yeah. And she broke her toe.
One of his typewriters falls on her. No, how?
And she breaks her toe.
Yeah, I understand the outcome, but what's the middle part of this?
Don't got it for you.
What? You don't know. You know she was with her kids on her way to meet Tom Hanks.
She just said she broke her toe introducing her kids to Tom Hanks.
No way. That's so vague.
I'm aware. I know why she was introducing her kids to Tom Hanks.
Oh, well, I mean, any information is helpful, I suppose.
Oh, it's because Tom Hanks is her favorite actor.
That makes sense. He is to actors what 4 is to numbers.
But that's all I got for you.
Oh, this is awful. She just spontaneously, her toe just snapped on the way to meet Tom Hanks. I don't know what to do about that. Sure, why not? I'll say that's also a fact. I think Beyonce can win the Broken Toe Award. A lot of these awards involve bodily injury. I notice Harry Styles bit his own tongue off. Beyonce's got broken toes.
It's true.
Taylor Swift made people throw up with her elbows.
The award goes to the Mixtaper.
Oh, no. Oh, awful.
That's right. I broke my toe meeting Tom Hanks. No, okay.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, this is a spin.
Drat.
Thought I was going for an all facts week, huh?
I kind of did for a minute. That last fact was so strange.
She did break her toe with the security guard, and Tom Hanks is her favorite actor, but she did not break her toe meeting Tom Hanks.
Well, who is she meeting then?
She only broke her toe once.
I'm just kidding. No, I know it's a joke. Only broke her toe once.
Yeah.
Darn, I only got one right this week. That's rough. That's a tough one.
It's about how last night went.
The Grammys? I can't win the Grammys. I can't win the Grammy Factor spin.
At least you didn't goose egg this category.
Oh, that's true. I really could have, though. We did 50-50 on Taylor Swift. We did 50-50 on Harry Styles. I only got one right for John Batiste. So I'm back to my old ways. But I'm glad I didn't accidentally ruin a streak. Well, I guess I kind of did, but there was a streak of 2. I didn't ruin a streak of 50-50s on the Grammy episode.
Yeah. Well, it was fun playing. I'll see you next week.
Yes, it was. Mixtaper, I will see you next week, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, there he goes. Welcome back, Connor.
The bees fact was wild.
I know, I can't believe the bees.
Can't believe.
Oh, that's good. I do think that's one of the most shocking things I've ever known about Beyonce. We should give the Mixtaper an award.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I think he should win the Dastard of the Year.
Dastard of the Year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's earned it.
I think so.
Been a real dastard this year.
That's true. I think it's very reasonable.
From the cutoff period of like mid-October of 2023 to into September 2024, he was a real dastard.
He was, yeah, the realist. Well, have we just nominated him? And does he still have to win?
No, I think we can nominate and confirm.
Oh, we can do it all at once. That's good.
Yeah.
We're the Spin It Academy, so
Yeah.
I think we do have that authority. Good for him. Congratulations. We'll have a reception after the episode in his honor.
He's working on an acceptance speech.
Uh-oh. Well, we'll present it at the end, maybe. But before we get to the end,
Hoo boy.
There's a lot of Cowboy Carter to talk about still.
Yep.
Let's talk about, guess what?
Is it the album art?
Yeah, it's the album art.
Woo!
The album cover of Cowboy Carter features Miss Carter as a cowboy. She's riding on a horse. just like the Renaissance album cover, but it is way less disco-y and way more cowboy-y. It was shot by Blair Caldwell, and she's dressed like a rodeo queen, right? A woman who would carry the flag out and ride it around before a rodeo started. People have debated a lot of specific influences and references, right? Like Napoleon charging into battle, or like other things that this is maybe a reference to, but nobody's really settled on anything concrete outside of the traditional rodeo imagery. What do you think of it?
When did this album come out?
This one came out in March of 2024.
Really?
Yes.
I remember seeing this with feels like forever ago, and I know that just because it's almost been a year, but still, it feels longer than that.
Yeah, well, it might be because the Renaissance one is fundamentally pretty similar. She's wearing a lot more clothes this time, and the horse is real. But beyond that, I don't know. I think it's bold. I like the way that the horse pops from the black background.
I like it. I like that she's carrying a flag, a giant flag.
It's a pretty big looking flag.
Is it a real horse, or was she put on a horse for this photo? Or was she put on some sort of green box and then they superimposed a horse under her?
It's a great question.
Because it's a really impressive shot if she's actually on a horse.
I know, right?
I just don't know if I believe she is.
I also don't know. I couldn't definitively say one way or another. Everything, like the way that her boot casts the shadow over the horse, makes it look legit.
Yeah, that's just somebody that was actually good at CGI.
That's probably true. I think it's probably... it's definitely fake somehow, but I don't know how they faked it. There's no way you can look that good and hold the flag and be that kind of position, that side saddle sort of way, and hold the reins like that, and steer your horse.
All while the horse is in motion.
Yeah, exactly.
So either she was on a horse and they photoshopped the horse to make it look like it's in motion, or she wasn't really on a horse, and they took an awesome shot of a horse in motion and an awesome shot of her and said, ta-da.
I do think that's a good option. Horse with a fan and standing still, and then we fix the legs later in post. I think that could maybe be it. But I don't want to sell her short either, because who knows, right?
Who knows?
It is really quite an album cover. It catches your eye, and it does really evoke the Wild West, especially like the Wild West of like the turn of the century, turn of the 20th century, you know?
You see, I was going to say I don't know if I got Wild West vibes out of that or if I just got rodeo vibes.
Well, I mean, where do rodeos happen?
Fairs, special events.
Yeah, I just think rodeos are a way more consistent tradition out west. And that's where cowboys are.
I agree, cowboys are at rodeos. I'm just saying I got more. I didn't get the Wild West of olden times. I got like modern day rodeo.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just the outfit and the flag and the stuff. It reminds me of like, think of the aesthetic of like the Music Man. The sash and stuff really is like evoking, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like that, but more modern. I feel like the Music Man looks more retro than that. That's like a modern take. It's almost how you said this is almost like a genre study of the country genre and not so much a country album itself.
Yeah, definitely.
This picture feels like a Wild West study. Like, oh, I've looked at a bunch of photos from the Wild West and now I've put my own modern Beyonce twist on it.
Yeah, I think that makes it fit the album really well. I do think that's it's an amalgamation of a lot of recognizable elements of rodeo and cowboy culture.
Sure.
I think that's fair. Professor and author Francesca Royster said, the aesthetic choice is bold and seems to be signaling the ways that Beyonce is putting herself into conversations about nationalism, a theme very much central to discourses about country music, patriotism, and authenticity from the times of its origins. So there you have it. That's the album cover. And now we have 27 tracks to talk about. Now,
we're not going to talk about them all.
We can't talk about all of them in depth. We'll, hit the highlights and talk about some of the milestones and dive into some of the tracks in between, but mostly we'll focus on the big ones. And an opening track for me is always a big one, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Just in the sense that we have to talk about it to get a sense of the album and where we start, and we can build on those building blocks. American Requiem is that first track. So you've listened to Renaissance, you know some Beyonce, but you think this is a country album that you're getting into.
Yep.
Does American Requiem confirm or dispel those beliefs?
Dispel.
Really? How so?
I mean, it has its country elements, but it's almost like, again, we took country stuff and we produced like a soul song about it.
I can see that. Yeah, the thing I really like about American Requiem is that like hazy drone sound that persists throughout the song. That feels like an old Western movie to me. And so I kind of do associate it with cowboys.
Yeah.
But it definitely is a different opening vibe.
It opens the album in a way that sets you up for what you're in store for. It does a good job of opening the album. But that first like minute is very pop soul, and then they start introducing the country elements, and then they go into more of a country rock section. Right, the opening track is a genre fluid song.
Yes.
Just like this whole album.
Yeah, and in that sense, it sets you up perfectly. And that's an interesting perspective to have on the song, too, because Jon Batiste helped co-write American Requiem, and he said when the album was released, he, I think, put on Instagram, he said, "This is the moment where we dismantle the genre machine. I was happy to write and produce for American Requiem along with Beyonce and Dion. When I catch inspiration, the words and chorus pour out of me. What an honor to see how brilliantly Beyonce made them her own and then further enhanced the lyrical statement, synthesizing it into the larger body of work. After the harrowing vocal prelude that happens to start Cowboy Carter, you get to hear these words that read like a proclamation. Do you hear me or do you fear me?" That's what Jon Batiste said. So he even recognizes that this is a genre like watershed moment that starts right from track 1. And people ate it up. I mean, American Requiem debuted at number 30 on the Hot 100. And it's an interesting title. Like a requiem, that's something you say in remembrance. It carries a connotation of mourning something. So she's like mourning the state of America a bit, and especially like the state of music in America. Can we stand for something? Now's the time to face the wind, not just cower and hide from it. It's a very adamant kind of song, and it projects that defiance. And I think the hazy sound in the background helps contribute to that. It feels like you're staring someone down at high noon on the, I don't know, Texas plains. Pretty solid. Then, one of the first things that drew me to this album, I did try and listen to it closer to when it came out. I didn't make it all the way through back then. I got distracted. It wasn't properly on the albums of the month. Things came up. But one of the reasons I wanted to listen to it so much was because of this cover of Blackbiird that she puts in the track 2 slot. I'm a big Beatles fan. No secret there. Blackbiird is a big Beatles hit. Beyonce does this version with Brittany Spencer, Raina Roberts, Tanner Adele, and Tierra Kennedy. And it's largely, strikingly similar to the Beatles' Blackbiird.
It was.
Yeah. The Beatles version came out in 1968 on the White Album. Its primary songwriter was Paul McCartney, and he took a lot of inspiration from the American Civil Rights Movement, particularly like the Little Rock Nine, the first black children to integrate into a white school and combat segregation in the South. And Paul said, this whole idea of you were only waiting for this moment to arise was about black people's struggle in the southern states. It's all a metaphor. Paul recorded the entire guitar part of the song solo, just by himself, and he put actual Blackbiird songs in the background. So the whole track is voice, guitar, tapping to keep the beat, and bird calls. That's what Paul did. And so for Beyonce's cover version, she kept the OG Beatles instrumental track, which I am such a fan of. I think that's very cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, so Paul McCartney's playing on this Grammy-winning album. Paul said, I think she does a magnificent version of it, and it reinforces the civil rights message that inspired me to write the song in the first place. I think Beyonce's done a fab version. What a Beatles thing to say. And I would urge anyone who's not yet heard it to check it out. You're going to love it. I really like the way that she builds harmony into it, though. She takes this Beatles instrumental and Beyonce-ifies it with really rich vocal harmonies and features and stuff. Very well done arrangement.
I really liked Blackbiird.
Yeah. Which one do you like better, the Beatles version or the Beyonce version?
The Beatles version.
Okay, good. That's understandable. It was kind of a gotcha of a question. But yeah, Blackbird's one of the album's biggest covers. It went to number 27 on the Hot 100, did a little better than American Requiem, and went to number 6 on the Hot Country Songs chart, which is kind of crazy to me because I don't particularly consider Blackbiird a country song, having grown up with my perception of the Beatles as a rock band, which, again, so is exactly the point, right? It challenges your perceptions and preconceived notions of what is and isn't country, or is and isn't Beyonce, and isn't X or Y genre. I think it's not bad, and I definitely like it here, especially at slot number 2. Like, that's a good spot to draw a lot of attention to it, and it is an important message that persists for the rest of the record. And then we get into the big ones, like hit single level tracks, Grammy-nominated tracks, like 16 Carriages. Did you hear 16 Carriages before listening to it on this album? I mean, it was one of the songs that got around a little more.
No, I didn't.
Curious. I actually did. I also sought out the 2 singles. When Beyonce said, I'm going country, I was like, I'll believe it when I hear it, you know? So I listened to 16 Carriages and Texas Hold'em at the time, and I do think 16 Carriages carries the country mantle pretty well. She recorded the song in 2020. She sat with it for 4 years before it came out on February 11th, 2024. Very, very close to when this episode comes out, actually, a year ago. It debuted at number 9 on the Hot Country Songs chart, and on the Hot 100, it would peak at number 38. But I do think it's one of Cowboy Carter's most country moments. What did you think of it? Just musically. Does it hold up? Does it belong on a country chart?
Yeah, modern country. I liked 16 Carriages.
Yeah.
I like the beat. I like the energy. I like the passion in her voice.
Oh, totally. Such an emotional song.
I agree.
I wish I had more insight into like the metaphor of it, because overall it's about like growing up and relating to your parents, how that relationship evolves over time and being put upon as a child and like losing innocence too young. People have compared it a lot to Daddy Lessons, the song from Lemonade that also kind of kickstarted this country journey for her. But yeah, Variety said that 16 Carriages is mostly just about having become a workhorse that got rode too hard before she had a chance to be a teenager. And the lyrics lay that right out. At 15, the innocence was gone astray, had to leave my home at an early age. I saw mama praying, I saw daddy grind, and all my tender problems had to leave behind. And I mean, she did like join Destiny's Child when she was 16, and her dad did so much work to make that happen for her. It all kind of lines up, but it is buried in this metaphor of 16 Carriages. I like it a lot. I think it's one of the album's stronger moments and more country moments.
I agree. 16 Carriages, good song.
Good song, I know, right? And then we kind of move through the section that, again, 27 tracks. We'll just have to speed through some. But this section that is Protector and My Rose, that duo is really interesting because it's about motherhood and her children and being there to protect her daughters and stuff. Like Protector, the Carters are so protective of their private life. So it makes sense they want to be there for her daughters. Fun fact about Protector, Beyonce's daughter Rumi Carter is listed on the song. And so when it debuted at number 42 on the Hot 100, Rumi Carter became the youngest charting artist in history. She was 6 years old at the time. And then right after Protector is My Rose. Similar vein. My Rose allegedly had a working title of Mr. Sir, which sounds fake, but that's the name of her son, Sir Carter. So, like, he's her rose. There will be flowers and thorns, but he's the one that she's, like, nurturing and growing into this complete person. Same sort of imagery. A really good back-to-back there. And then a familiar voice pops onto the radio.
Yeah, Smoke Hour was the biggest disappointment on the whole album for me.
The biggest disappointment. Let me guess. You thought Smoke Hour would be a song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was excited to hear a Willie Nelson Beyonce song.
I would be too.
And that's not what I got.
It's not. No, it is not that at all. It's another interlude. It's like a radio station, flipping through the channels, right? We hear some Sister Rosetta Tharpe, we hear Chuck Berry, and then Willie comes on and says, hey, what's up? Listen to my radio station, KNTRY, which is a fun callback kind of to Renaissance, but you know, the man, the redheaded stranger, is there. We talked about him in one of our episodes in the 70s, and he killed someone in that episode. But he's back again to tell us to listen to Beyonce. So it was a disappointment, but don't you like Willie Nelson a little bit? Isn't it kind of fun to have him here?
Nah.
I think he's a good get. But I am biased. I am a big Willie Nelson fan.
I mean, it took a get, but didn't do anything with it, in my opinion.
He would have been better off singing.
You got it, and you didn't do anything with it.
The guy's 95.
Yeah, so he's got 5 more years left in his full life.
In his full, you think a full life is 100 years? If you say so. And that segues very nicely into Texas Hold'em, the second co-lead single.
The most popular version of poker.
Texas Hold'em poker? I would imagine, yeah. And it's cool. I like the way the song riffs on that. Texas Hold'em poker. I don't know a lot about poker, but you can't show your cards, right? You keep them hidden until the end, and that's why you're able to...
I mean, you're not supposed to.
Right. That's because you hold them. Texas Hold'em, you hold your cards. And then you're able to bluff in different ways, like the game plays out differently. And this is like that, but in a relationship. This ain't Texas, ain't no Hold'em. Lay your cards down. Like, show me what you got. Be open and honest with me, and we can actually try and work something out instead of guessing and figuring things out randomly. Texas Hold'em, man, definitely one of the biggest hits on the album. It was nominated this year for Record of the Year, Song of the Year, and Best Country Song at the Grammys. It lost all 3. 2 of those it lost to Not Like Us, but still. Texas Hold'em did top the Billboard Hot 100, and it hit number 1 in the UK, New Zealand, Canada, Iceland, the Netherlands, and Ireland. Very international, a global top hit. When it topped the Billboard Global 200, it became the first country song to do so since the chart was founded in 2020. So that's cool. And I do think, like 16 Carriages, Texas Hold'em is another song you could almost properly call a country song.
Yeah, I'd agree.
One of the much more country moments on Cowboy Carter, totally. To make this song, like, she drew a lot on her own experience listening to country music in the heart of Texas, deep in the heart of Texas, and going to rodeos with her family. Like, Beyonce has country roots. I really don't know why the country music audience or industry or whatever system was in place that, like, shunned her the first time. I don't know why they did that. She's Texas born and raised, like, famously, and leans into it, like, embraces it. But oh well. The banjo on Texas Hold'em was provided by Rhiannon Giddens. She has always been a big advocate for Black voices reclaiming country music and its instruments and its history and stuff, and she said, "My only hope is that it might lead a few more intrepid folks into the exciting history of the banjo. I used to say many times, as soon as Beyonce puts the banjo on a track, my job is done. Well, I didn't expect the banjo to be mine. And when you know it, it was." Texas Hold'em has one of the best kind of grooves on the album. It feels like a line dancing song, which is why we get this pre-chorus, the step to the right, headed to the dive bar, run me to the left and spin me. Like, it feels almost honky-tonky.
It does.
There's something to it that still prevents it from being like, wow, I feel like this song is fully, like, boom, country staple, right? But I really just think that's the genres blended into it. But this one definitely feels strong with its country inclination.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Texas Hold'em I would classify as a country song.
Yeah.
I think if more of the songs were like Texas Hold'em, there'd be less people there like, oh, it doesn't deserve best country album.
Yeah, you're probably right. If she put out an album of Texas Hold'ems, I don't know if it would have been as good, honestly.
No, probably not a whole album of Texas Hold'ems. I'm just saying a few more songs like it.
Okay, yeah, a few more. The density of country songs was greater. I get that.
Yeah. I really liked Bodyguard. I know it's not on our list of ones that we're trying to actually focus on, but I just wanted to give a shout out to the piano.
Oh, you could totally like Bodyguard. The list is not concrete. It was just an idea of ones to focus on, because I want to talk about the things that you wanted to talk about from this album, too.
Sure. Yeah, I really like Bodyguard. I think maybe it's my lack of listening to Renaissance in a while. I think her passion and emotion on this album is stronger than it was on Renaissance.
Oh, Renaissance is a cold, unfeeling album in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Because it's shiny and glittery and disco and pop.
And I've decided I like passionate, emotional Beyonce. So again, this Bodyguard, you can really hear it in her voice, and then there's just that really strong piano plunking away
Totally.
throughout the whole thing. It gets a little repetitive, but I like it.
Oh, I totally agree. And it's got a good melody behind it, too.
Yeah.
It's constructed and produced really well. And you're not alone in liking Bodyguard. It debuted and peaked at number 26 on the Hot 100. So better than several other tracks we've already talked about. And it was nominated for Best Pop Solo Performance. This is one of those crossover songs that, it's the best country album, according to the Grammy numbers, but this is a pop hit.
Yeah.
Her co-writer, Ryan Beatty, said that the line, "Sometimes I hold you closer just to know you're real," is one of my favorite lines I wrote for the whole record. Melody and lyric together can make something feel so much more beautiful, and I think that melody, the way she sings it, and the line itself feels cute and intimate. I love that part of the song. And you know what? She sings honey, 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 honey.
Yep.
A lot in Bodyguard, and it makes me think of how many bees she has. And Bodyguard makes me think of her broken toe. This is a factor spin heavy song today.
It is.
Ridiculous. So you got excited and let down by Willie Nelson on Smoke Hour.
Yeah.
Did seeing Dolly P here on the track list do anything for you? I mean, it's only 22 seconds long.
It would have been the biggest disappointment if I hadn't already put my walls up because of the Willie Nelson thing.
I'm not ready to be hurt again.
Exactly. Plus, yeah, it only being 20 seconds was a good indicator. But again, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, Dolly Parton. That's awesome. And I was just briefly skimming through the songs, looking at all the different features that are here.
Oh, yeah.
I got excited. But alas, yeah, it is another interlude.
Yep. Dolly comes in. Love Dolly so much. An icon of country music and just a legend in Tennessee and everywhere. So cool. She intros Beyonce's cover of Jolene.
Yeah.
By referencing her own version of Jolene and one of Beyonce's previous songs too. And then we move right into it. Jolene is another major cover for this album.
Yeah, and she does it so well again.
Yes.
That's 2 for 2.
Yeah, she's nailing the covers. And I think Jolene is an important cover to include because nobody in the right mind making a genre argument can point to Jolene and say, this isn't country, because this is one of the best country songs of all time.
Yeah.
I think Jolene as a cover is important because it lends the album a lot of legitimacy. Not that she has to prove herself to a crowd that's not receptive to her, but it does make a strong case for a bunch of people that would argue against her. But Jolene, Beyonce's Jolene was nominated for a People's Choice Country Cover of the Year award. That's how good of a cover it was. Dolly, of course, did the original. She recorded it at RCA Studio B in Nashville back in 1973, and it was the title track from her 13th record. What a song. It's Rolling Stone's 63rd greatest song of all time in any genre, and their #1 best country song, and it was nominated for 2 Grammys back in the day. It's a song written from a woman who's being cheated on to the woman her man is cheating on her with, or considering it anyway. And she says, I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. I guess Dolly was inspired to write the song after a real random woman got a little too flirty with her then new husband. And legend has it that Dolly wrote Jolene on the same exact day that she wrote I Will Always Love You.
Wow.
I know. Talk about being on a roll. Talk about having a good day to write 2 of the all-time greatest songs, not just that you'll ever write, but that will ever come out of your genre in an afternoon. Man. So Dolly's version has always been a huge hit, and apparently she had wanted Beyonce to cover the song for a long time. Beyonce or someone like it to take and do what Celine Dion did to I Will Always Love You.
Yeah.
She knew it would become a powerhouse if it got covered by the right person. And so when Beyonce approached her about covering Jolene, Dolly was all in. When it finally came out, it said, Beyonce's given that girl, Jolene, some trouble, and she deserves it. I was curious what you thought about some of the lyrical changes Beyonce makes. I wonder if they were good or bad.
I don't care.
You don't care? Okay.
I just grooving out.
Just grooving up to Jolene. That's fair. It does make the song a little more aggressive than Dolly's version.
Yeah.
Dolly's version compliments Jolene a lot. This one, fully takes it to Jolene. Lets her have it.
I think that's a difference in time when it came out.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate also. 50 years apart.
We're much more aggressive as a society 50 years down the road.
That's reasonable. It's a good version. You're just grooving out. But get this. Beyonce's Jolene is actually the highest charting version of the song ever. Lots of people have covered Jolene. Beyonce has charted the highest. It peaked at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it also made Beyonce the first female to simultaneously hold the top 3 positions on the Hot Country Songs chart, which is a ridiculous, no woman has ever been numbers 1, 2, and 3 in country music before. Jolene was up there with Texas Hold'em and 2 Most Wanted.
Wow.
That's cool. And I think it's really cool that she put Jolene back to back with Daughter, because Daughter's kind of a violent-edged song where she makes good on the threats that she made in Jolene. She tries to be nice, but if you push her too hard...
Daughter is such an interesting song. I didn't even listen. I couldn't tell you any of the words because I was just so focused on how she was singing it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of built over this classical guitar arpeggio.
Yeah, and she's doing these really interesting just vocal hops and drawn out, run together syllables that then just kind of go up and down the chord all willy-nilly. But yet also, it's it feels willy-nilly and controlled at the same time. Yeah. Fascinating.
Smoke hour willy-nilly. I do agree. It's really interesting. And for the bridge of Daughter, she straight up delves into opera. She sings an aria called Caro Mio Ben, and that is so wild. Yeah, it's definitely a blend. Definitely a good example of why this album cannot be boxed into one genre blanket.
Yeah, I mean, the next song, Spaghettii, starts right off with genres are a funny little concept, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Linda Martell is the speaker in that intro piece. We'll talk more about her later when we get to the track that is named after her. But yeah, Linda Martell opens Spaghettii, and she said, I'm proud that Beyonce is exploring her country music roots. What she's doing is beautiful, and I'm honored to be a part of it. So that's cool. Shaboozey is also on Spaghettii. That's the first time he shows up on this album, and honestly, Cowboy Carter kickstarted Shaboozey's career. He sped up the rush of his big hit single, A Bar Song, Tipsy, because of Cowboy Carter and this feature. So he really leaned into this and rode the wave, and great for him. He was nominated for a bunch of awards this year, including Best New Artist, and it all kind of started here.
That is cool.
Yeah, and it is certainly not a country-y song. Spaghettii is one that...
The Spaghetti's a hip-hop rap song.
Fully, yeah. Spaghetti's fully in a different genre altogether. And that's cool. I think it's really neat that the album can feel so cohesive and like flow from thing to thing in such a nice, satisfying way, but like still be so far apart on polar opposite ends of like our genre norms. The title of Spaghettii references spaghetti westerns, those cheesy old western films, and they called them spaghetti films because a lot of them were made by Italians and Italian Americans.
Yeah.
Some of them were even filmed in Italy.
Spaghetti westerns.
Spaghetti westerns, yeah. I think it's maybe a little problematic, but the terminology stuck. And so now that's what a spaghetti western is. One of those tacky and sometimes good, just really entertaining.
Tacky in a good way a lot of
Yeah.
times, the ones that are remembered.
Yeah, the cookie cutter, what you think of when you think of an Old West movie from the 50s, 60s, the stuff that's on like, I don't know, the TV Guide channel all the time. It's cool. What did you think of Spaghettii? As a guy that raps sometimes hits and sometimes misses.
Some impressive raps.
Yeah.
Some impressive rhymes in there with some big syllable words. But all in all, it's
Yeah.
It's not making my top 3, but
No, that makes sense to me. Then we kind of go on a run, after Spaghettii. It does feel like the vibe of the album has shifted a bit through Alliigator Tears, which is a cool song. When Someone's Fake Crying, it's a nice song about love and vulnerability and manipulation in relationships. It's a really good deep dive into those emotions.
Alligator Tears, another one I would consider an actual country song.
I think it's close.
I think it's there, if by modern standards. I mean,
It feels like it blends in a little more of the Louisiana influence again, like swamp country, almost like the Lainey Wilson,
sure.
like Louisiana country style. I can hear that.
Yeah.
And then we get a little sign off from Willie Nelson in Smoke Hour 2,
Electric Boogaloo.
just like Willie Nelson does. Yeah. He comes back on and he says, sometimes you don't know what you like until someone you trust turns you on to some real good stuff. And he says, that's what I'm doing. You're here to listen to Beyonce. I think you should check it out. Because, again, big name. People are going to trust Willie.
You trust me.
Yeah. And then we get Just for Fun, which she sings with Willie Jones. Pretty much a song just proclaiming she's doing what she wants because she enjoys it.
Yeah.
And anything that's good or bad that comes from the lifestyle and the way that she makes music is secondary.
Also, a song I would consider a country song.
Maybe. I think part of the problem is none of these songs are built like country songs. A country song, 3 chords in the truth, way back in the day, is how they did country music. And
That's way back in the day.
I know. Well, it's evolved a lot since then.
I'm comparing it to modern country.
Country's evolved a lot since then. But when I think of country, I do think generally of pretty simple verse-chorus structure. I think of like clever, punny wordplay in the title. I think a lot of these songs that Beyonce's making, because they're Beyonce songs first and foremost, and it's great, they have a lot of different sections, a lot of different moving parts, a lot of different
Yeah.
segments that
I don't think that excludes it from being a country song. I don't think
No.
to be a country song you have to follow the cookie cutter format that country music is often criticized for.
Right. Well, that's
I think you have to have a certain sound to your song to be considered a country song. This has that sound.
yeah, I think that's just a hurdle that a lot of people can't get over. But yeah, Just for Fun definitely maintains that sound. And it does have some really good lyrics in it. Again, the meme is that country music is built on very simple lyrics.
Yeah.
My car, my truck, my parking spot with a beer,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
my girl, my dog, my hunting, fishing. And, this song is time heals everything, don't need anything, and I just need to get through this or get used to it. Totally, it is very deliberately very different than country, even though it fits. That's the whole thing of this album. Is it or isn't it? It's not trying to be, and it kind of is, but it also isn't because it shirks convention. And she's doing what she wants just for fun. Now here's a song that I couldn't get out of talking about for a long time, even if I wanted to. Two Most Wanted.
Woo! Ballad
The Return of the Queen.
with my queen.
Oh yeah. Two Most Wanted with Miley Cyrus. Boy, oh boy. This was the album's 3rd single, and it won the Best Country Duo or Group Performance Grammy. I was back and forth between Two Most Wanted, and I had some help. I wasn't sure which one would take it because both songs were pretty huge. But this is the winner. It cracked the top 10 of the Hot 100, which made it Beyonce's 23rd top 10 hit and Miley's 13th.
Wow.
Rolling Stone has already named Two Most Wanted one of the top 50 Beyonce songs of all time. And Two Most Wanted was both Beyonce and Miley's 3rd top 10 on the Global 200 chart after Break My Soul and Texas Hold'em for Beyonce and Flowers and Used to Be Young for Old Destiny Hope Cyrus. What'd you think? Tell me more, Mr. Big Miley Cyrus fan.
They both are just so, the emotion is there in their voice.
Oh, it's so emotional.
They just are both belting it. Their voices sound good together.
Such a good blend, right? Beyonce's is smooth and Miley's is like rougher, and they really play well off of each other.
Yep.
I think Two Most Wanted, I mean, it's definitely Endless Summer Vacation, Miley. Definitely that same energy that I liked a lot on Endless Summer Vacation.
Sure.
And felt like it was missing from Plastic Hearts.
All right, you didn't have to say that part.
I just like to remind you sometimes. It's been 167 episodes. Let it go.
Never.
I'm kidding. But also, I think Two Most Wanted is kind of like a fun little prequel to Prisoner. Or maybe a sequel.
Yeah, maybe they've escaped.
Maybe they're on the run, escaping prison, and they're shotgun riders till the day they die. You know what's interesting about Two Most Wanted? Miley was the first one to write this. And then Beyonce called Miley up to work on this album and said, hey, you want to collab? Miley was like, heck yeah. Also, here's this song that I really like that I've written. And Beyonce was like, cool, let's do it. Miley said, I wrote that song like 2.5 years ago. My mom would always go, I love that song so much. And so when Beyonce reached out to me about music, I thought of it right away because it really encompasses our relationship. I told her, we don't have to get country. We are country. We've been country. I said, you know, between you being from Texas and me being from Tennessee, so much of us is going to be in this song.
Yeah.
And getting to write a song, not just sing for Beyonce, was a dream come true.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I know. I think this is one of the best songs on the album.
Wow.
I know. I like the melody of it. I like the emotional weight that it carries. They really don't hold back. They lean into the emotion, and I like it a lot. And I like the message. You know, it's us against the world. We love a good Bonnie and Clyde. Then we get another feature, two kind of high-profile, significant feature songs back-to-back. Levi's Jeans featuring Post Malone.
He has his own Oreos now.
Post Malone has his own Oreos? You could have saved that for the Mixtaper to tell me, but you spoiled it.
I mean, the advertisements are everywhere.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, and I don't know when we'll do a Post Malone episode. What are Post Malone Oreos?
Don't ask me what flavor they are.
Well, that's not a Post Malone Oreo.
What's not?
That's a picture of it.
All right, calm down.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know what flavor that is. It looks like a peanut butter caramel, maybe?
Maybe. All right, get out of here.
Get out of where?
Ironic that I had to accept the cookies to view the cookies.
Oh, I know.
Posty swirled salted caramel and shortbread flavor cream
Caramel and shortbread. Interesting.
is sandwiched between a bottom golden Oreo wafer and a top Oreo chocolate wafer.
That sounds awesome.
There you go.
There you go. Anyway, Post Malone's got Oreos, but he's also got a feature on Levi's Jeans. And he's got a Grammy for the best pop duo or group performance.
His voice is prettier than I expected.
Post Malone has an excellent voice. Have you not listened to him before?
Not really. I'm sure I have and just don't realize it.
Really? You remember Sunflower from Into the Spider-Verse? That was him.
No.
Wow. I thought you would know it because you like Spider-Verse so much.
You're actually a bigger Spider-Verse fan than I am.
That's true. I love Into the Spider-Verse. Post Malone has a great voice. He started out as like a hip-hop trap artist, and lately he's become another recent pop to country crossover act. F1 Trillion, his country album, came out this past year, and it was nominated in a few country spots also. I think Post Malone has crossed over to country in a way that he fits the country genre box. It's a very different album than Cowboy Carter.
Yeah.
Because it's trying to be a very different album than Cowboy Carter.
Let's say, again, Cowboy Carter, by all intents and purposes, isn't trying to be a country album.
Exactly. And Post Malone, he's got the hooky, jokey song titles and the easy choruses and the I don't know how I feel about all of his features. He features everybody. Blake Shelton's on a song, and Brad Paisley's on a song, and Jelly Roll's on a couple songs, and like Luke Combs is on a couple songs. Like Post Malone features people on his country album like it's a rap album, but it is pretty unarguably very country music. And I think Levi's Jeans kind of comes across close to the same way. I think it's got a very memorable chorus, which I like. And I always love Post Malone's voice. And what's interesting is I guess Levi, the brand, was a big supporter back in the early Destiny's Child days. And so this was kind of a nice shout out to them. And after the song came out, they actually worked with Beyonce to launch a marketing campaign called Reimagine, but with two eyes, like the rest of everything on Cowboy Carter. And they're partnering with Beyonce to sell different chapters of jeans and styles or something. I don't know.
Interesting.
I know. But whatever they're doing, they project that tying Beyonce to the product is going to bring in a $2 billion sales boost.
It's crazy.
Yeah, $2 billion.
I'm trying to think of any branded or sold by the actual person thing that I've ever bought solely because of the person
selling it to you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, it's one thing if, like...
Oh, I'm Bob Ross, and this is my head as a chia pet. Right. It's a thing.
Right.
And this person just happens to be a part of it. But this is jeans. Anyone could buy a jean.
Yeah, like, just a generic product, but they slapped a celebrity there to be like, hey, you should buy this product. I don't know if I've ever done that.
This specific jean is the one Beyonce wants you to have.
Yeah.
You go, oh, man.
Gotta have that gene.
Let me ask you this. Are you going to buy the Post Malone Oreos?
But yes, but that's only because of the sick freaks at Oreo, not because of Post Malone.
Oh, okay. Right, got it.
I always gotta try out whatever the sick freaks down in the Oreo lab have come up with.
They probably don't like that you've called them sick freaks twice. Oreo lab people, if you're listening, he doesn't mean that.
Well, stop coming out with the world's most demented flavor combinations.
What, caramel and shortbread sounds fine.
Coke? Coke Oreos?
Well, I'm not talking about those yet.
I'm just saying, the Oreo people, I go down the cookie aisle every time I'm at the store, specifically just to see what the freaks in the Oreo lab have come up with.
Are you sure it's not just because you want to buy Oreos?
No, I don't always buy them. Sometimes I'm just there. Sometimes I'm just there to look and appreciate, but I usually buy them.
Yeah, right. There we go. Well, I like Levi's Jeans. I think it's a good track. Another really strong choice from this album. And then we kind of move through Flamenco pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It feels like a clever parallel Flamenco does for people dancing out of her life, which is cool. The day ones leave once loved people she's lost connections with. It's a really nice song, but it's so quick.
Yeah, and then you got another interlude.
Yeah, Linda Martell is back. Now, Linda Martell, she's the first black woman to make headway as a country artist. She was the first to play the Grand Ole Opry, actually, and she did so a dozen times. And she's still alive, by the way. Like, she was the first black woman to play the Grand Ole Opry, and she's still alive. That's how recent all this has happened. She ended up retiring from music in 1974 when she was in her mid-30s, but she blazed one heck of a trail into the genre. And so it's really cool that she gets such a major shout-out on this album that's also trying to blaze its own trail. This record represents Linda Martell's very first Grammy nomination, so that's great. And she leads us into Ya Ya. Like, listen to Ya Ya and tell me it's a country album. It's reductive and wrong to say this is a country album. I stand by it. And that's why Linda Martell announces it the way that she does, and explicitly says it's a range of genres that makes for a unique listening experience.
Yep.
You just have to be open-minded to that experience, or else it's gonna confuse you. You gotta ride the wave of genre. And like Ya Ya, it was written by Beyonce and Jay-Z and The Dream and others. Like, it's not a country writing crew, and it flows between rock and soul and funk and rockabilly and hip-hoppiness, and like, it's a lot. And it was nominated for Best Americana Performance at this year's Grammys. I don't get Americana from it much, but it's pretty cool. Lots of publications have called Ya Ya the best song on Cowboy Carter. Do you agree with that?
I do not.
Yeah. Does that mean you didn't like it, or you just don't think it's the best? Where's it on the scale?
It's not making my top 3.
Wow. Even with the Beach Boys sample, but it samples the Beach Boys that's like the Beach Boys that you liked? Good Vibrations?
Not making it.
Wow. Billboard said that Ya Ya might be the closest a studio recording has gotten to capturing just how bombastic Beyonce's live vocals are. So I've never seen Beyonce's live vocals outside of like recordings of Beyonce's live vocals, but that's still a little different. But it is a very powerful vocal. I can't help but think about like the South Park episode where they discover that Randy is Lord and all he does is go, ya, ya, ya. Like, that's how he writes his songs. There's a lot of ya-ing on Ya Ya. But it also interpolates These Boots Are Made for Walkin'. You know that song, right?
Yeah.
Great. Nancy Sinatra did that one, and she said, to have a little piece of one of my records in a Beyonce song is very meaningful to me because I love her. She represents what's great about today's music, and I'm delighted to be a tiny part of it. This may be the best sample of Boots yet. That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's about Beyonce's like family history as they try to navigate the complexities of racial and social inequality in the South. And she like does a huge deep dive into music history and references the Chitlin circuit where black artists would tour around the South. I mean, black artists all the way back, like Duke Ellington and Ella Fitzgerald. Like, we've talked extensively about the Chitlin circuit and the artists that performed on it. So it's cool to pay tribute to it here. And then she does another little tribute to her home with Oh, Louisiana. Another Chuck Berry interpolation that calls back to her Creole heritage. And it's 52 seconds long.
Yep.
It is pretty short. And so when it charted on the Hot 100 at number 70, it became Beyonce's shortest charting single of all time. What do you think? Like the high-pitched vocal, how's that hit you?
It was pretty funny. I enjoyed it.
I know, it makes me laugh. I love it. Then we kind of move into another track that like bridges the gap a little bit. Desert Eagle is short, and it doesn't feel much like much, but it's a little like innuendo crescendo-y interlude into the very back part of this album, because we definitely need to ramp up the energy before we get to Riiverdance. And Desert Eagle kind of does that. What do you think about Riiverdance?
Bounce on that dance. Bounce on that dance.
It's so repetitive. The instrumental loop with the banjo and stuff, like, it's repetitive. There's a lyrical hook that is just like that ad nauseum. It's so percussive. It's very reminiscent for me of like the high energy from Renaissance, but also very countrified.
Yeah. I don't know about countrified, but sure.
Well, there's the banjo in it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I really actually kind of like it. I think it's a little bit much, maybe, but something about it. Its simplicity really strikes me. It's neat. She actually used her fingernails as percussion, much like country singers would do, right? They tap on their guitar. Dolly Parton did it a lot.
Yeah.
To keep the rhythm. That's cool.
That's cool.
Riiverdance is a style of dance from Ireland that involves dancing on the balls of your feet and keeping your arms at your sides, almost like doing a jig.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she describes the dance, but it's also a little bit of an innuendo. It's fine. And then we kind of move into Two Hands to Heaven, which is a song I always want to remember better than I end up remembering it. Two Hands to Heaven feels like a soft pop song.
I agree.
There's just this ambient kind of lightness to it that I really like. And it's cool because it's like hands up. It's an act of surrender. Hands to heaven. I'm throwing my hands up. I've got no control over this. God only knows why, though. So it's this song of redemption, almost, of letting go of all the troubles and trying to let things roll off your back and just not giving up, but like letting go of things that are holding you back.
I do like the 10,000 steps towards the time of your life.
Yes. Oh.
That's a good chorus.
Totally agree. I really do like Two Hands to Heaven. And I really think it's cool that we back it up to Tyrant. We also have another Dolly Parton intro on Tyrant, which is great. Never going to complain about seeing Dolly again. After Two Hands to Heaven and its like redemptive arc, it's cool to put that back to back with Tyrant, which is kind of the opposite. This song all about taking power back and exploiting it to get what you want. Like the contrast between Tyrant and Two Hands to Heaven is stark and noticeable. I like the way it's produced. I like the heavy bass on Tyrant. I like what is that? Like a synth part? Almost it sounds like a harmonica that they've altered and changed that does the higher sounds. Maybe a fiddle? Hard to tell.
Giddy up, giddy up.
I know. Before I knew what this album really was, like on my first pass through Cowboy Carter, expecting it to be like a country album, I was like, it's almost like she just said giddy up and horse a bunch and bowl and thing. Like she just said a bunch of country things and expected it to be a country album. But obviously my understanding has evolved a lot with more listens and digging into what her intent was behind it. But that's how it felt. Just to hear her throw these terms around, it's like, okay. But Tyrant is a pretty fun sounding song. I think it's again a little bit away from Cowboy Carter energy, kind of leaning on the scale more towards Renaissance energy with Tyrant. But either way, I kind of like it. Then we get a song that I think is supposed to be like a three-parter kind of song. I think Sweet, Honey, and Buckin are separate but like related sections. I think it's meant to be kind of a partner track or a follow-up to Renaissance's Pure/Honey.
I see.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any strong feelings about Sweet, Honey, and Buckin?
Not particularly. It's here.
It's here. I think Buckin is kind of fun, but kind of a lot. It's the most boring section, but there's an air horn in it. It's like, oh, okay. There's like a real strong groove and beat to it. I don't know. But overall, the whole song interpolates Patsy Cline's I Fall to Pieces, which is great. Love Patsy Cline. And in this song, she directly calls out the Grammys for what she saw as a snub for not winning Album of the Year previously. In any of the previous chances. Well, it's just interesting that she calls them out directly for it and then wins it with the album where she said, what the heck?
Maybe because she called them out, they were all like, oh man, now we gotta vote for her. She called us out.
Can't have that again. Yeah. No, but she says, I'm not stunting about them. I take it on the chin and I come back and do it better. So I guess that's what she kind of tries to do. I don't know. But then we've made it through 27 tracks to the Cowboy Carter closer. Amen.
I like Amen.
Me too. I think it's a really excellent full circle moment because lyrically and thematically, it really closes the gap with American Requiem. I mean, she sings some of the parts of it again. Some of the instrumental motifs come back again. The whole sentiment, have mercy on me, I see you're hurting. This house was built with blood and bones and it crumbled. The statues were beautiful, but they were lies of stone. It's a really good bow to put on this album that we've been journeying through. And the gospel influence is very apparent and heavy. Amen makes it feel like the album has, like, closed. If I'm remembering correctly, Renaissance ended, like, in the middle of a line, which looped directly back into the beginning, right? And so Amen here, it's so good to have this, like, absolute final conclusion. Amen. Finality. Sealed. Closed. Done. And it relates back to American Requiem, but I don't think it loops. with American Requiem. There's a start point and there's an end point. Cowboy Carter is like a closed entity here. It is one end to one end, and I like that. But I suppose it's time for final spin.
It sure is.
Sure is. Well, for me, Cowboy Carter is an interesting album. I am really intrigued by it. It was fun to discover. It was fun to learn and fun to learn about. I'm giving music an 87. There's a lot of musical parts of this album that get lost on me, but the ones that stick are really, really strong. I think there's a lot of cool melodies. I think there's a lot of cool melodic rap songs and hip-hop sections without melodies, and I think, yeah, it's really well constructed musically. So 87 there. I'm giving lyrics an 82. I think she does a good job at challenging lyrical content expectations from a country album, which is great. I love all the history she's dug into, all the things that she references and pulls out, but then we just get buckin, 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 buckin like a mechanical bull, or like Riiverdance, bounce, 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 bounce. Like there's so much lyrical repetitivity here that works in favor of the vibe and the groove of the song, but does not do the lyrics any strong favors. So I'm giving lyrics an 82. The instruments and the production, I'm giving a 91. I really, really liked the more natural, the raw sound of less auto-tune, less synthetic, more real guitars and real instruments and variety in it. Like the album just feels a lot more like real in a lot of ways than Renaissance kind of did. So 91 for instruments and production, 83 for the overall vibe. A little bit long, a little bit interlude heavy, a little confusing genre-wise. Even if you understand that it's meta and like a genre study, it is still a little hard to pinpoint or orient or figure yourself out in Cowboy Carter. And I think the best that you can hope to do is just get used to it. You can't classify it. You have to understand that it's going to be what it's going to be and surf before it knocks you off the wave that it's trying to make you ride. So 83 for the vibe, giving the overall score an 86.1, and putting Cowboy Carter at number 303. That puts it actually below Boy Genius, who we just talked about, and right above Wham. So there you go. Cowboy Carter for me, 86.1, number 303. And compared to Renaissance, Cowboy Carter did actually perform significantly better than Renaissance. The music on Renaissance got a low score. The lyrics on Renaissance were not for me. I gave them a 74. But I did think the production on Renaissance was better. The vibes were the same. So Renaissance ended up at number 550. It's like 250 slots below Cowboy Carter. I see it as a significant improvement, and I think that's cool. However, neither scores as high as Lemonade, but that's besides the point.
My turn.
Absolutely. We could talk about how it compares to the other Album of the Year nominees later, but I do want to hear your scores and things for it on its own first.
Sure. I actually found myself liking this album more than I thought I would.
That's always good to hear.
I had heard some people complain about it. I'm not really ever been the biggest Beyonce fan.
You? That surprises me.
And yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed a lot of the songs on this album. I don't know if I'll be going back to the well for more than a few, but I think I'm just going to jump right to my top 3.
Oh, fire away.
In album order, 16 Carriages.
Oh, okay. Skipping over Blackbiird.
I am. Honorable mention going to Bodyguard.
Oh, you really did like that one. And, wow, a skip right over Texas Hold'em.
Yeah, I did skip right over Texas Hold'em. Next up, Jolene.
Tried and true.
And the one you could have won the easiest money off of if you had to guess, my top 3.
Oh, yeah.
2 Most Wanted.
Piece of cake. That's a no-brainer for you.
Yeah, that is my top 3.
That's a solid top 3. I think there are a lot of different top 3s you could build from this album that I'd say, yeah, my top 3, Smoke Hour 2, Dolly P.
Compared to Renaissance, I think I liked Cowboy Carter more.
Well, we have that in common.
I wasn't sure, because you had, at the beginning of the episode, you kind of started to talk about that, but they were like, well, we don't need to talk about that yet. And so I was like, oh, I wonder which one he likes more.
I thought it would give it away. Oh, and it kind of does. You gave Renaissance a 6.
Yeah. So it doesn't give too much away.
No.
You know it's getting at least a 6.
You gave it 6 hostage wiggles because of the way they say release your wiggle in Break My Soul.
For a score, I'm going to give this 8 lasagna westerns out of 10.
Lasagna westerns?
Yeah, well, you said you had a problem with spaghetti westerns, so I thought I'd help come up with something to change it to.
No, I don't have a problem with spaghetti westerns. I just said it might be problematic to refer to a group of people by the food they eat.
Yeah, so we'll change it from spaghetti to lasagna.
Yeah.
Because this album is built, just like those films, in layers.
Oh, it's a layered album. So it's a layered, yeah, it's a lasagna Western.
Exactly.
It's lasagna country. That's what Cowboy Carter is. Ironically, Italy also sounds like lasagna country, but that's fine. Garfield the cat approves.
Giving it an 8.
8 is 2 steps up from Renaissance.
It is 2 steps up from Renaissance.
What kind of an 8?
Like location was?
Yeah.
Because I already told you the kind.
Well, yeah, lasagna kind.
I'm going to put it at the bottom of my 8s, actually.
Wow.
Well, down there next to Chris Stapleton.
That's wild because Chris Stapleton did lose Best Country Album to Beyonce this year. I thought it might end up near the record, like I put this, right? Didn't I just say I put it right below Boy Genius? Or I thought it might end up near Harry's House, a previous Grammy winner.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure.
Bottom of the 8s, I think.
That's fair. I think that's reasonable.
I think my biggest complaint about this album in regards to this Grammy season, I think it's a fine winner. We'll see. I'm sure much like in the past, we will cover some of the other things that were runners-up, also nominated.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Time will tell if I think it should have beat out its competitors or not. But I think it's a fine winner. I think it represents the award well.
Totally. I will say, I have 4 of the nominees scoring higher than it.
Oh, okay.
But that's just a score. I don't know about should have or shouldn't have won. I mean, I loved the Jacob Collier album. No way. Snowball's chance in heck that Jacob Collier won Album of the Year. But man, I wish. Kind of.
I think my biggest complaint is that it won Best Country Album.
Me too. I think so too, because again...
I think for an album that is chock full of songs that literally go, what's a genre? We're genre busting.
I'm not a country album. Yeah.
I'm not a country album. That's too reductive, you know?
Yeah.
For an album full of songs like that to then come in and win and take away the biggest award for the country genre in the Grammy night.
Which it is self-proclaimedly not. Yes.
Exactly. Is a little, it's a little messed up.
A little strange.
Not the biggest fan of that.
No, I don't feel the same way about like, oh, it won duo country performance for a single song.
Sure.
That's different.
That's fine. That's different.
Yeah, but for the whole album.
But I think an album that specifically tells you over and over, I'm not just one genre, I'm not just a country album, to then come in and win Best Country Album. All right.
Yeah.
Feels like we missed the point a little.
Yeah, I think they did. The Grammys, just the Recording Academy in general. But I like that this album has a point.
Sure.
And something to say, and it says it in a very subtle way. So that obviously so many people who look at this and say, country Beyonce, no. Like that just dismiss it offhand, have already missed the whole point.
Yeah.
And like played into it, like reinforced its message.
But I think calling it the best country album of the year helps reinforce that wrong opinion.
Totally. Yeah, I think you're right. Because now everyone's going to go, it's not a country album, look at it. And it's like, yes, you're so close to getting it. Man, well, what a fun time.
What a fun time.
What on earth do we pick for playlist picks?
Oh, I already got mine. Don't worry.
You've already got... I wondered if you would go for a big one or if you just do what you're about to do.
Oh, no, I'm going to do 2 Most Wanted.
2 Most Wanted.
Which was a big one, by the way. How dare you?
I know.
It won a Grammy.
So did all of them. This is the whole album won a Grammy. That point's moot.
The individual songs didn't all win Grammys.
No, that's true.
The album as a whole won a Grammy, and so did 2 Most Wanted.
Well, we took Cuff It and Break My Soul from Renaissance. Good picks. You're taking 2 Most Wanted. I knew you'd do this. It's hard. There are a couple I would want. And do I want to take Texas Hold'em? Do I want to take 16 Carriages? Do I want to go for something deeper cut?
Only you and your heart know that answer.
I know. Take Smoke Hour 2 with Willie Nelson. I think I'm going to have to take 16 Carriages.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping you would pick.
Oh, good. I love the emotion. I love the sentiment. I grew up too soon and now I'm looking back at my life and kind of staring down this regret. That's deep. That's heavy. And I like that it's not Texas Hold'em. You know, Texas Hold'em feels like it has less to say than 16 Carriages.
Yeah.
So there. 2 good picks for the playlist. Well, her name is spelled B once, and we've talked about her B twice.
There you go.
That concludes this Grammy episode on Beyonce. If you want to find more stuff that we've done, which is a lot. I mean, this is episode 187. We've got really good episodes coming up for the rest of the 100 Grady's you don't want to miss. So, find us on social media at SpinItPod Official on Instagram and at SpinItPod on X and www.spinitpod.com in any browser. And, of course, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. What a time. What a good time. And you know what else? You can tell someone.
Tell someone, hang on.
Tell them to hang on.
Tell them about the podcast. Specifically this time, tell somebody who you think is an award-winning friend.
Tell your award-winning friends. Tell someone you know with 80,000 bees about the podcast.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say, tell somebody who you would give the Grammy for best friend.
Oh, wow. Friend of the year.
Yeah. And then you guys can celebrate your friendship by listening to the Spin It podcast.
Marvelous. So sweet.
On a completely unrelated note, hey James, I have something to tell you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully can wait till we're done. We'll see you next week. And until then, happy Grammys and keep spinning. And now, here to accept the Grammy for Dastard of the Year, the Mixtaper.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaper. I want to dedicate this award to my gopher, to my parents, whoever they are, and to those that supported me through college for my doctorate of evil. You really helped mold the dastard you see before you today.
That's beautiful.
And to Starbucks, though they should be thanking me for their signature drink.
Marvelous. What a winner. What a dastard.
Next round's on me! But only if it's pumpkin spice.